Yo, what's up, YouTube? What's going on? What's the word? Well, it's my birthday, and I figure, what better to celebrate? As you can see, it's daylight. I took the day off. No, not really, actually. I have the summer off. I do teach, so... yeah, so we went golfing this morning, so I had a few brews. I don't take that shit serious whatsoever. So I had quite a few brews. 1 second here, I'm gonna take a little Alright. Almost fell over right there, so we're gonna let that lie for now. What's going on, man? So you probably wonder why you're tuning in right now. Well, really, it's a response, my second response to edt1138's Top 3 Tuesday, and this time it was by LegaiaRaSeru. Yeah, LegaiaRaSeru, I believe it is, and it was hosted by TheSegaStoner. If you guys do not know the three of these cats, check down below. Subscribe. The TheSegaStoner is a fucking lunatic. He's the man, the myth, the legend. You think I'm a Sega fan? He calls himself the TheSegaStoner. You tell me who's the biggest fan. So check him out. Check out LegaiaRaSeru. I believe it is LegaiaRaSeru. I could be saying it wrong. I'm pretty sure I'm saying it right. But yeah, check that dude out as well. And of course edt1138 as well. But hey, what is the question for this episode? The question is that what are the top 3 games that you grew up with that were RPGs, or your favorite RPGs when you grew up? And that's a fucking tough question. Let's be honest. Like Ed, who just released his own response to his own video, I'm a little bit older, so for me, Oblivion and a lot of the other games that came out. Well, Diablo's a fucking cool game. I never even thought of that one. Diablo's awesome. Diablo 2 is great. Yes, but growing up. So for me, growing up was between the ages of, I don't know, 8 and, 18. Ages that I could actually understand what the hell I was doing in terms of video games. I could press up, down, left, right, and figure out what the fuck was going on. So for me, the top 3 games were difficult in the sense that I have 2 from the 8-bit era and 1 from the PlayStation era when I got a little older in college. But there are definitely 2 games that do not make the top 3 that were. First of all, the first one, I don't know if I can even include in the RPG territory, and this is Tunnels of Doom. As you can see, I don't have it anymore. I don't know where the hell it is. I used to have it. Tunnels of Doom for the Texas Instruments 99-4A, and that game was incredible. Now, there wasn't too much of an RPG element in terms of actually talking to townsfolk and things like that. But there were level ups, there were going to the general store and buying new items and armaments and, armor and protection. And that game was groundbreaking. That came out in, I believe, 1983, and I remember it fondly. And I'd like to show you a clip from that. I showed it previously in one of my older videos. I don't know how many people took interest in it, but this is a clip from that. Real quick. That is Tunnels of Doom. So, I mean, it's very primitive, but it was one of my favorite games of all time. Did it crack my top 3? It should. Let's be honest. I had a difficult time with this, but My other one is Final Fantasy II for the Super Nintendo. Now, I don't know if this, honestly, I've never gotten involved in terms of, is this Final Fantasy V, 6 for the SNES, or for the Famicom. I have no idea about all that stuff. All I know is that I grew up in the United States, and it was Final Fantasy for the NES, Final Fantasy II and 3 for the Super Nintendo, and then there was Final Fantasy VII for the PlayStation, and of course you had, you know, what was that dumpy one for the Super Nintendo that came out in between? It was Mystic Quest. But Final Fantasy II, I remember fondly. Thing is, I did not own a Super Nintendo. I had a Sega Genesis, so I can't put this on my list. I definitely watched and maybe participated a little bit in terms of Final Fantasy II, but it wasn't mine. It wasn't my character, it wasn't my quest, and I definitely enjoyed watching it, and I definitely played the fuck out of it, but it wasn't my system, wasn't my game, so I can't put it up there. But Final Fantasy II NA NTSC style was definitely the shiznit. Now here are my top 3. This is really what we're doing here, right? I'd like to take a sip of this, but I don't think I can get it past the mask. Let's try it. I did it. A little bit of bourbon right there. All right. Number 3 is probably on everybody's list, but for me, I gotta tell you, this game got me back into gaming. I'm not even kidding around. I was done playing with video games. I had the PlayStation. The Genesis was dead to me at that point. I gave away games. I remember giving my ex-girlfriend games, hundreds of games, to her autistic brother. And so gaming was done with me. I got a PlayStation for Christmas, so I did have Twisted Metal, which was awesome, and I had Game Day 97, which I used the Jets, which were 1 in 15, and I destroyed everybody. Just in case anybody went to my college, I fucking destroyed you with those Jets, man. 1 in 15, baby. Yeah, rich coat tight. Anyway, that was with Corbett, Keyshawn Johnson, fucking Neil O'Donnell, for you football fans out there. Terrible, terrible squadron. Adrian Morrell was my running back. Terrible. Anyway, then this game came out. And I remember not going out on Friday nights, maybe even Saturday nights, even though there were parties, even though there were chicks, even though there were kegs, even though there were other stuff going on. And I remember playing this game religiously. Call me a geek, call me a nerd. This game hooked me, man. For at least 2 weeks of my sophomore year. Was it sophomore year? I don't know. It's one of those 2 years of college. This game had me for 2 weeks. Not much more to say that you haven't already heard. Hooked me, got me, music, all of it got me back into gaming, PlayStation, everything. Excellent title. You know, people say it's overrated. Bullshit. It's not overrated. People just don't like things. People like to be counterculture. Yeah, this game got me back into it. Awesome game. Really, nothing for me to say about it. My squad was obviously Cloud, it was Barrett, and it was Red. Those were my 3 dudes going into battle. But I'm sure everybody else had all kinds of stuff. I never beat all the weapons and all that shit. That wasn't for me, but definitely this game is the shiznit of damn big boom. Alright, number 2. Come on, take a guess. Yep. You guessed Phantasy Star, you were right, and it is one of the greatest RPGs of all time. For you youngins who watch my channel, and I know there's quite a bit of you, if you do not have this game, buy it for the Sega. I think they have some sort of like ultimate pack for the Xbox and the PS3, and you'll be able to play this. I believe it's unlockable. It's a fucking incredible RPG. futuristic combined with old school fighting. You have classic armaments like swords and shields, and then you also have armaments like laser guns and stuff like that. Music is incredible. Just revolutionary game. Something that was not done on the NES, and I had this for the Sega. And when everybody, was yapping up that the Nintendo was so good, I used to just point out that I had Phantasy Star for the Sega Master System, and this game blew away. And I know there's a lot of Nintendo fans out there, and I love Nintendo. Don't get me wrong, the 8-bit Nintendo is the shiznit of band, but this game blew away any RPG that you can name on Nintendo. Not even a question, not even fucking close. So, if you don't have it, find it. It's not that expensive on eBay. It's worth it. Get it. Buy it. Love it. One of the greatest games in the history. Now, if you couldn't tell already, this is my #1 RPG of all time. Now, as if this film hasn't gone long enough, I have no idea what we're up to. I'm sure maybe 10 minutes at this point, and if you're still watching, thank you. But my #1 is Phantasy Star 2 for the Sega Genesis. Now, this isn't my original copy. Neither is that Phantasy Star right there. This is in pristine shape. It's one of the few purchases that I made off eBay years ago, and I was able to get the map and the booklet for cheap, maybe like 20 bucks. And I'm glad I did it. Now, Phantasy Star 2 is something that had to be experienced for the time. Now, a lot of you guys go back and play Phantasy Star 2, and when you go back and play it, you realize there's a lot of leveling involved. There's a lot of gaining experience for your characters in order to move on to the next checkpoint. It's a typical kind of dungeon level crawler. But for its time, when it came out, I believe in 88, 89, there was nothing like it. There was no RPG that could match Phantasy Star 2 in terms of graphics, in terms of music, in terms of just North American gameplay. There was nothing that could match Phantasy Star 2, and I love this game to death. I mean, I would play it straight through right now. Not straight through, but at least I would give it an attempt. I actually just got a trade from Master 2 to 3 for the collection, which I used to have, but I don't know where it went. Actually, the emulation isn't as good as this right here, but Phantasy Star 2 is an immersive RPG that is overlooked by a lot of fans because, they're Nintendo fans. It's easy to overlook it, but it came out in 89, 2 years, a full 2, maybe a year and a half before the Super Nintendo came out. So it's definitely worth a shot if you are not a fan of Sega and you do have a Sega laying around. Please give a shot to Phantasy Star 2. There is some leveling, but the dungeons are tough. The music is excellent. The storyline is mind-blowing. It has a turn of events, and I won't give it anything away, but it has a turn of events that was almost unprecedented for RPGs at the time. And that's my top 3. Once again, I appreciate Ed for once again creating this concept. It's an incredible concept. The SegaStoner for hosting, and LegaiaRaSeru for creating the question. And I hope I'm saying your name right. If I'm not, my apologies. Those links will be down below, and I'll see you next time.